Can you relate to the tale as old as time, seeking all the achievements, accolades, looking for fulfillment in areas that ultimately weren't God? St. Augustine says, "Our heart is restless until it rests in you." And isn't that the truth? So today, I'll be sharing my story with you. I'm going to share key points that shape me, reflections on them that may speak to you, in hopes that you'll get to know the what I say is the she behind GSCC and give God all the glory. But hey, I'm Alexandra Cabell. I'm a certified coach and founder of Grace-Based Christian Coaching. I support women who are feeling overwhelmed. They're dealing with a lot of doubt, negative beliefs that are getting in the way of a more intentional and Christ-centered life. So a little bit of an overview of what GSCC is all about. First, we help you to get grounded in your beliefs so that you can live a Christ centered life that is grounded in God. We're going to support you in making decisions that are guided by your faith and your relationship with Jesus. And then, two, we're going to help you to align your thoughts with His so that you can show up differently and not only invite God into the process, but allow Him to be your number one. So, this is going to allow you to experience a deeper confidence in what you're doing and how you're doing it. And then third, we help you to refine rhythms. We support you in working through God's strength, creating habits that are based on biblical principles so that you can live a fruitful and purposeful life that honors Him. So before we get kicked off, I just thought maybe it would be powerful to open in prayer, and then we'll officially launch into the story. So Father God, thank you so much for this space today. Thank you that you are a redeemer. Thank you that you use all things for your good, for those who are called according to your purpose. I celebrate the women that are here today listening to this conversation, God. There is something of you in them. I'm reminded that the Holy Spirit lives inside each of us, the power that raised Jesus from the dead. And I just pray that that flame just be ignited in those who are listening, God, that you grow more and they become less, God, that that people see salt and light through the choices that they're making in the life that they're living, God. I just pray that they see more and more of their identity in you and that they set their eyes, they fix them on you, Jesus. We can't wait to see what you're going to reveal to these women. And I just pray that it has eternal impacts. We love you, God. Give this time to you for all of your son's glory. Amen. Okay, so let's do it. I will start out at the point that I'm grateful and wildly blessed that Jesus has always been a part of my story. He was always present, but I wasn't always pursuing him. And maybe you can relate. But what this will look like is I'm going to share some key moments of my life so that you have the inside scoop on who I am, what he's walked me through overcoming, and how that can serve you too. And most importantly, I'm going to share how it relates to coaching and what you can experience through working together. And even now, what you might be able to get curious about, how you can think bigger and differently than you might already on your own and begin to apply some things to your life. So little coaching nuggets throughout as well. All right, so let's get straight into it. So we're going to open up like this is vulnerable. These are, some big conversations here. And so I just pray that you can see that, appreciate it, respect it, and maybe even see some of my story in your story. So first was painfully shy as a child. Most of the time. I remember around age 4 being taken by my dad to an acting class in hopes of helping with that. And remember being on stage, being bribed with Cheetos to do what I don't recall. But just remember feeling like I wasn't enough or something was wrong with me. I felt like I wasn't meeting expectations and hated that. But maybe I'm reminded of 2 Corinthians where it says, when we are weak, he is strong. So taking a second to think about that, this is something that we emphasize in faith-based coaching. Like maybe we are supposed to come to the end of ourselves. Like maybe that's a really good thing and it's actually great because we're never supposed to operate apart from God. Okay, a next little story is I always remember this little mini koala bear that Wild ended up saving, still have it, and my little girls have this stuffy, if you will. But back in the day in kindergarten, I remember a teacher announcing that there was this challenge, who knows what it was, and that she was about to announce a winner, and the winner was going to get this cute little stuffed animal. And I remember excitedly thinking, like, oh, I wonder who's going to have it, how fun and exciting for them, with zero thought that it could be me. But it was. I was that winner. And what that moment gave me was just thinking, wait, I'm capable. Winning feels good. And maybe you can remember a time where similar thoughts or feelings came up for you. Being celebrated, being recognized was exciting. I remember feeling seen. Um, and that has done so many powerful things. I won't deny it for my life up to this point. But what I wish I had heard, and maybe this is something for you to hear right now too, is that your value, in fact, lies in the truth that you are a daughter of God. Full stop. And as it says in Romans 8, nothing can separate you from the love of Christ, and be blessed in that truth. That is what matters. That is what winning looks like. So I was so thankful to have parents that regularly took us to church. We would always go to church on Sundays. We'd do church activities on Wednesday. That was kind of like a mainstay expectation norm in our family. Was confirmed. I did church retreats, played and sang in the church choir, played bells, performed in plays, and may or may not have been the lead to Esther back in the day, which, of course, my mom still has the video of the performance and me singing a solo, which, yes, is so fun to watch back. But the seed of faith was planted, but it wasn't planted enough to create that deep, deep, unshakable relationship. And maybe you know what that feels like or what that looks like. Maybe that's your everyday right now. It's there, but you just know there's something more. But what is that and how do you get there? So things really changed for me personally when I began to read the actual Bible and know his character. So, a lot of us say, like, oh, I really wish I knew what God thought or what he would say. And if that's you, go to his word. To make it simple, make it easy as possible, start with a chapter of Proverbs and do that every day for a month. It kind of works out perfectly because there are 31 chapters in the book of Proverbs. Or if you want to read a gospel, go to John and start there and do a chapter a day for 3 weeks. So there are 21 chapters in the book of John. Faith formation, this is definitely something that my clients focus their packages on. And there's so many different special ways and techniques that are doable, that are approachable, that we share with you through faith-based coaching. Okay, so as I was growing, writing to-do list, this, like, for mainly as long as I can remember, has been such a joy in my life. And my earliest memories of creating them were in church, for better or for worse. There was just such joy in scribbling down ideas during the sermon, which does feel strange to say because, of course, I wish I had primarily had my focus on the message. But what I love about this is that church was a place that was marked for inspiration and that he uses all things, even a little girl, instead of paying full attention, writing little dreams of things to do on the little offertory envelopes. He uses all things for good and for his glory. So connected to this, like, I wonder for you, what is a childhood joy that you might use today to bless the people around you, right? Like God puts little deposits of himself in you. What's one of those? And how might in the next 2 weeks you use that to serve others and just get closer to him? Coaching is so special because we not only cast purposeful vision that has both meaning and intention, but is action oriented as well. Okay, so keep it on, keep it on. Here we go to middle school, you guys. Fun. So I had a best friend in the 5th grade, and I thought going into 6th. And over this summer, she found a new best friend, one that, I mean, oddly, they did look like twins in some ways. They were about the same height, very similar personalities. Um, and wasn't her. I wasn't her. And it was heartbreaking. It was devastating and just kind of felt like, I can't keep up. I can't keep up. And that was a message. And maybe that is a message or narrative running in your mind right now. I feel you because that is hard. It's so hard. And a lot of the clients I work with and how I had felt in that moment is wanting to check out completely, right? Like, if you're not going to do it perfectly, you don't want to be part of it. You don't even want to begin to try. And there is so much that is stolen in that space. But the invitation, the reminder I'd like to offer you is that when a door closes, he is opening another. Like, if that has not been an anthem of my story, particularly for friendship, um, I just pray that's your truth too. That whatever door is painfully currently closed or recently closed in your life, that you trust that he is opening another far better, far more beautiful for both you and this other individual than you would ever imagine on your own. Okay, so heading down to the end of middle school, this was probably around 8th grade, had a moment where I was called to the front of the room to give my speech. We had to write a paper and we had to present it in front of the class. And I remember having this like whoop, jolt shock moment, like, wait, I didn't have time to prepare. And prepare meant time to panic, to get worried, to let all of the what ifs churn. I didn't know that it was my day to do it. And it sounds insane because it is. But that's how I operated for so long, right? Like worry was part of the preparation process, which is not what God has for you. And so, like, what if instead of freaking out, if you will, you focused on pepping yourself up? What if you celebrated God maybe has been preparing you for such a time as this? What if it looked different? It felt different. Ephesians 3:20 says he can do more than you could ask or imagine. And so what that looked like for me, I actually, without that time to worry, did better than I would have ever done otherwise. Well enough that that 8th grade English teacher saw something in me and she said, you know what, I'm pulling you aside and I am going to coach you to enter the oratorical competition at our school. And you know what? I went on to do that competition. I was still nervous as you wouldn't believe going onto the stage to do it. And I did it. And I not only placed, but walked away with the first place medal. All because preparation looked different. All because I believed in something bigger and operated differently than I would have otherwise. And like, what could that thing be for you? All right, so moving along to high school, sophomore year, sat with a circle of friends in a coveted group, but legitimately, you guys wouldn't talk probably 90% of the time. I wasn't brave enough to use my voice and truly believed that I had nothing to share because I genuinely felt that everyone had it together. But, oh, I just want to give that teenage girl a hug. It also reminds me it was positioned, and maybe you see yourself in this too, was to need to crave Jesus in a deep way. And I'm so thankful for that. So maybe consider a time where you hadn't felt enough, a time where you felt empty. What encouragement do you wish you would have had? Or what encouragement do you wish you would have right now? Like, write a letter to that version of yourself. Visualize what that conversation would look like. In the coaching packages that I offer through GSCC, we have the best reflection exercises, including a 10-year letter that I've curated and offer and share with and work through my clients with. Okay, so finishing up high school, as we talked about earlier, like this success, particularly academic success, was a huge part of my story. Graduated with a 4.0 unweighted, I think it was 5.4 weighted GPA. Basically, there were plenty of credits that I was able to use and apply in college that allowed me to graduate a semester early, which, wow, was a tipping point. So what did I do for that semester? I had already been accepted to physician assistant school and had nothing planned. And you know what? I went with it. A physician assistant year before me, she was heading to Yale for her PA program. And so I thought, if she has advice to offer, I'm going to listen to that. She's going to an Ivy League. And she said, do nothing. Do nothing. School is so big and so full and so overwhelming that just give yourself space to breathe and to be. And that's what I did. I lived without achievement hovering over me, which, I don't really know that had remembered time apart from that. And what do I have to say about that semester? But it was beautiful. There was lots of babysitting, dreaming of dating in Europe that never did pan out, trying out different jobs, obsessing over lifestyle blogs. So this was in 2009, and then early 2010s, and just really enjoying my last semester of college. I mean, like, what a gift that is to have that undivided time and space. And the anthem there, the encouragement there, you guys, is that pausing is productive. Almost every shift that I have made in life was dreamt through, well, having space to breathe, to think, to move, and honestly, like going for a walk. Bonus points if it's in a beautiful space. In the past year or so, I've heard the quote that emotions need motion. And isn't that true? Right? So take that time. Coaching, like, it's so important because it challenges you with the status quo and your keep on keeping on mentality, right? Like, just because we are busy crossing items off a to-do list, like, doesn't mean you're necessarily moving in the right direction. So my invitation to you is to set a timer, even simply 3 to 5 minutes. Set it on your phone. Take time to pause, reflect, journal, talk with God today. It may be the best part of your day and even change your year in your life because it's done that for mine. Okay, so as you guys know, was accepted into a physician assistant program, which is like hard. I look back, all of the electives were biochemistry, physics, like what? But it was totally my mom's dream and not my own. I did not know how to listen to my voice, let alone God's voice, and was constantly asking and obsessing over what others thought I should do with my life. I did not trust myself, know how to trust God, or even remotely what that looked like. And unsurprisingly, that resulted in being miserable. So 2 weeks after starting my PA program, I withdrew with no idea of what I was going to do next, which for the type A achiever is just like wild. Still floored that that had happened. And someone like me, that girl, I think at this point I've been using a planner for 25 years, maybe, like at least 20, a long, long time. So that was a wild moment. So take a moment to like make this about you. Think about what is something you have done that doesn't make sense to the outside world, like withdrawing from my program. That I had hundreds, like over 500 hours of patient care. All of these things. It doesn't make sense to the outside world, but made sense to God. What is that for you? And if, that's not something that you've done, like think about what could that be? What might that be? And get curious and be comforted that you're not alone in that. Okay, so even though I was for the first time in my life beyond making choices, my own choices, and doing something that's still connected to my strengths when I withdrew from my PA program and then enrolled in an HR development master's program. So kind of like the leadership talent development side of HR is what I ended up focusing on. Insecurity still ran rampant. And it showed. Well, I was in consulting, ended up getting a creme de la creme job in human capital consulting, traveling Monday through Thursday. My manager, who, like, God bless her, she was a new manager in her early to mid 20s, didn't have much experience, but she sent me an article and it said this, the title, "If you were replaced, would anyone notice?" Yeah. It did not help someone who is already struggling so much with self-worth. So if you feel like maybe you shouldn't have someone send you something quite like that, but if you feel that way, my encouragement to you is that the God of the universe called you to be here right now, and he lives inside of you. I believe it's Jeremiah 1:5 said he knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. You were loved before you did anything just because you are his. It has nothing to do with success or achievement or your wins or your failures. It doesn't. It has to do with you being God's. So live with that crown on your head. Walk tall, walk boldly with confidence. Think about what is maybe one small change that you will make today, something that you'll either do or think about differently, um, so that you can walk in that boldness and God given authority. In our coaching program, we talk a lot about how to do this, how to walk in your God given authority, and it will radically change things for you and even those around you. Okay, so later on, gosh, maybe my mid-20s at this point, I got engaged to my now husband, not high school, my husband and my college sweetheart, and was getting ready to marry him, the love of my life. I had gotten the best job I thought at the moment, that consulting gig. Lived in a city I loved. We were on the 10th floor, like top corner unit of an apartment. It was amazing, like city skyline. Um, Full deck. It was just insane. So great. Like literally all of my boxes were checked. Everything that I had wanted had come to fruition. But I was sad. I was empty. I was restless and was mad at myself and frankly frustrated for feeling that way. So I headed solo all by myself to the Billy Graham Library. Um, Went to where the guard gate was, rolled down. I had a manual lock and window in my first car, was still driving that around. He saw I was by myself and asked, "Hey, you going with anyone with you?" And just the tears started welling up. And, it's just me. But that's exactly how it was supposed to be, me and Jesus. It was such a powerful experience. Just my connection with God was reignited in ways that hadn't been in years. And then I continued on to a local church later for service that evening. I finally recognized, praise God, that I so deeply needed Jesus, right? I was going to say he was that missing puzzle piece, but like the everything, right? There's nothing that can replace him. That idea of like we all have a God-sized hole in our hearts was so true and was ready to surrender and open my life to him. And so maybe you're in that place where a lot of things have worked out, but it doesn't feel like you thought it would. And what is he calling you to do, to pursue, to surrender, to draw near to him in the ultimate fulfillment? Okay. So a couple years later, found myself at a Christian bookstore. Goodness, I wish most more of them were still around. Such a special place. Grabbed the book Restless by Jenny Allen. I think the subtitle is like Restless Because You Were Made for More. And it felt like it was speaking directly to my soul. Picked up my first adult Bible. I've got it right here. Pink. Read it with my husband over 2 years aloud together. We finished it within days or a week of our trip to Israel, November of 2019, which I mean, like, come on, the most perfect timing for that trip. And it was a game changer. It gave us the courage, reading his word, knowing it in its entirety, to live differently and make big decisions, like really big decisions, you guys, with confidence instead of fear. So the biggest encouragement with this one is like, go, like read his word, start somewhere. There truly is power in the name of Jesus. And if it feels overwhelming to do that, what I might encourage you to do, like a really sweet study, it's called Seamless by Angie Smith. It's a 6-week study that kind of talks about the Bible in its entirety and how it's all knit together and woven together. She actually went and sat in the kids section of a Christian bookstore and just pulled all those books together to truly understand, like, what is the Bible all about? Like, tell it to me as simply as possible. So it's a very fun, easily digestible study. If you want to do that, that could be a good place to start too, and just ignite your hunger for his word. Okay, so this led me to sharing my voice because it is God-given. Your voice is God-given and it matters, and you are here right now for a purpose. I'll never forget in facilitation, I spent all this time doing a presentation that clearly I knew more about than anyone else because I put it together, but was resisting sharing it and felt a lot of anxiety about getting in front of a group of leaders to share. And I remember I had A manager. Oh, she was so good. God redeemed me with a few really, really good managers after that one job that truly changed my life in lots of ways. But she had said this, what if you made the experience all about that in your sharing? What if you weren't focused so much on where you were not going to articulate every detail or not doing good enough, but what if you were focused on delivering a powerful experience for them? And that really just released so much of it. And God in the past month or two has given me this download. Some of that very transparently can still come up here and then. And he said this, like, what if perfection wasn't driving you? What if sharing my love with others was the ultimate goal? Right? Like, let's go. So that's my invitation to you too, right? Like, what if it didn't have to be about doing it perfectly or doing all the things? Like, what if the main goal was sharing and sharing in a way that demonstrates God's love? What if that was success? Okay. So I researched my passions for development and growth and assessments and just, so hungry to figure out like, what am I good at? What did God wire me for? What, how does this all make sense? And more importantly, like, how or could this all connect to my faith, to Christianity? And this actually brought me to, she was previously at Proverbs 31, which is located in Charlotte because, like, of course, like God is wild. That's where I actually live now and lived at the time. So this brought me to someone named Lisa Allen, and she is a coach herself. She is how I found out about Christian coaching and the school that I earned my initial credentials from. I also found someone named Laura Casey. She founded a company called Cultivate What Matters, which is just all focused on exactly what it says, like doing what matters most. Like there is color, there is faith. There's just so much fun and vibrancy and life in what she had shared through her company. She has a book called Make It Happen, I believe it is. And that like gave me the nudge that I needed to eventually launch the business after my coach training. And side note with Laura, I love her so much. She's so fabulous. I've got to meet her now in real life 3 separate times, and even have done a podcast interview with her on our podcast, which is just like, come on, like God is just so good and so kind. The process of discovering who he created you to be is fun. There are so many different tools and resources that I've compiled across the years for my clients on discerning who he wired you to be and what to do with that. And those are just things that I get to offer to clients in our work together if that's something that they'd like to pursue. Okay, so soon after, I made a decision to say yes to attend my Christian coaching school in the evenings. My husband kindly supported me in that, which meant a lot considering money was tight because we had recently gotten married and we're buying our first home. We're still paying for student loans on his end. We're paying for both of our cars. Like there was a lot of payment that was happening and not a ton of money that was coming in. But God, I'll never forget the day after I said yes and put money down on my coaching program. My manager gave me a call and said, hey, would you mind coming to my office? Which you might have this personality too. It was just, my heart started racing. Like, what could she possibly want? Why did she not just pop up by my desk? What did I do wrong? Just stress. And I'll never forget her this idea, like, what if you were a best case scenario kind of a girl? Okay. How might life look and feel different? But anyhow, so I walked on down to her room. She told me we had just had our mid-year review, that I was doing a wonderful job, and she was doing all she could in her power to get me the highest bonus. She slid a paper across the desk that this is what it looks like. The amount of that money was the exact cost of my coaching certification program. Amazing. Like one of the coolest God winks ever. And so the Bible talks about people placing stones to remember God's goodness and his faithfulness. Ebenezer stones, if you will. And so my encouragement to you and idea is to perhaps, do it with stones. Like how fun is that? Or it can even be simple and like get what you might have called a gratitude journal, like call it an Ebenezer journal, and record God winks, his faithfulness, and to see a tangible place where that is all written down can be so sweet. Okay, so some of the companies I was at back to back were acquired. And if you are in the corporate world, you know that when a company is acquired and you are the smaller company being bought up, that can be uncomfortable and make for a really toxic and hard work environment. Yet he uses all things for his good and his glory. So with one of the companies that I was acquired by, it ended up with a pretty significant pay increase and a title bump. But just all of these moments, ultimately, when maybe in them felt really messy and frustrating, they began to feel like a blessing because they were preparing me to say yes, my heart to say yes to coaching. So think about like what moments in your life maybe felt like that. Like, why is this happening to me? And like, what if it was like, what if this was happening for me? So, like, take a second, maybe even pause this episode and think about that for you. Okay, so on my 30th birthday trip, we headed down to the Alice Beach or Rosemary Beach area in early May. It was lovely. It was perfect. It was gorgeous. We mapped out my timeline for leaving my job and starting coaching full time, which was never the initial plan or expectation. So, like in that, whether it be a week, a weekend, a day, like what is a quick getaway that you can do for yourself and or your husband? Because life changes like in these. They're so valuable. And creating perspective and giving yourself extra space to hear him as a life changer. And maybe it isn't a weekend away. Like maybe it's even just simply going for an hour walk and setting aside time to do that. So went full time in about 2018, 2 years before my first child came along, and then I've shifted to part time and work part time ever since. So if you are going through a change or hope to transition, I'm just so thankful to have this and to share it with you. It's a resource called Side Hustle Success. Take the leave and live your dream. And you can get a copy of that, gracebasechristiancoaching.com/ebook. And that shares all of the like practical things that I did to prepare me for this major change and the mindset piece too, all in a Christ-centered way. So if that feels like a gift for you, there's so much good content in that resource to support you and would encourage you to check that out. But these fast forward are just upon my 37th birthday, which is bananas. But these last 7 years have included deep personal growth in my business, growth of our family. God was so kind to bless us with three precious little girls in just under 3 years. Our oldest, she's still not yet 1.5. So not that it ever changes, but like life is just, it's really full. We moved homes and did this while I was in my second trimester of pregnancy with a baby under one and another one who was two. Like I look back and I'm like, how did this happen? But it did. We've gone to, I think, like 6 different churches in that amount of time, like a marathon to find the right church home for us, and we are there. God is so gracious. We've built such rich community over those past 7 years. I've added additional coaching certifications, laser coach, certified Christian life coach, group coach, master coach, have obtained the set 2 of 3 levels in the International Coaching Federation certifications, working my way towards the top level with that. I've been working with my own coaches, counselors, even going to retreats, in-person events, working on this podcast, a YouTube channel, email, socials, like all of the things. Life has been full of the best of ways. But you guys, fast forward to today, like I am bravely living the life that God has had planned all along. Like my God-sized dream of supporting other women to live their most purpose-driven lives and just loving God, to be courageous in pursuing their most intentional lives possible while loving God, themselves, and others. And get to partner with women like you to get unstuck, to get focused and break through your biggest fears and doubts so that you can run your race. So do I have pitch me moments that this is my life? Like, yes, totally. There's so many moments of pure joy, like doing what I love, getting to serve ambitious women like you so that you can live a more intentional and Christ-centered life. But the journey to today, like you guys heard it. You heard it. There were a lot of hard growth and refinement moments behind the scenes. God Check out Ephesians. I believe it's 2, 4 to 10. Like, but God. So the overall takeaways that I hope you heard and use and apply for yourself are to one, know him better, trust in him, surrender, prioritize people, create rhythms to keep you focused, and have the boldness to believe who he says you are, to pursue what he created you to do, which no matter what is to love others and make disciples, and to be obedient to go where he leads you, even when it's hard. These are all topics that I support women with in our coaching together. So maybe you're curious, like, oh my goodness, tell me more about like what is GSCC all about? And it's living a Christ-centered life, learning how to be grounded in God, making sure that the decisions you make are guided by your faith in God and relationship with Jesus, how to actually do that. We talk about thoughts and how to navigate what comes your way with ease and honestly surprise yourself and the people around you. Not to only mention the results that you get when you show up differently and not only invite God into the process, but allow him to lead and be number one. You have a deeper sense of self and confidence in what you're doing and how you're doing it. And then we talk about refinement, refining actions and behaviors, working through his strength, creating rhythms based on biblical principles. And because of these things, you have a fruitful life and business because of your consistency and Christ-like mindset. You get to rise up and rise up with excellence and in new opportunities and challenges that you have imagined never being able to overcome. In his strength, you do. So if this sounds like what you need, go to gracebasedchristiancoaching.com. I'd love to personally invite you to apply for a clarity call and for us to have a conversation to decide if we are a mutual fit. So go forth, like grow your faith, bring the Lord into your everyday life and thoughts. Get closer to God and have everything in your life reflect that. Establish habits that allow you to experience joy and prioritize being still. Through this time, I hope you get better equipped in navigating life decisions moving forward and doing that with confidence. Through our work together, what we get to do is have clarity in prioritizing his plan, making decisions that are guided by your faith and your relationship with Jesus. So from the bottom of my heart, like, thank you for the opportunity to share. My encouragement is that through his strength, that he'll persevere, even in the hard moments, because there is so much faith, there's so much hope and joy ahead. So my benediction, my blessing to you is Romans 15:13, that may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by power of the Holy Spirit. And if you want even more of this, probably the three best ways to connect next are to one, join our email family, gracebasedchristiancoaching.com/subscribe. You'll actually be gifted a mini workshop, 15 minutes, how to go from overwhelmed to overjoyed when you join us. And then apply for that clarity call, gracebasedchristiancoaching.com, and you'll find a button and you can apply for that. And then maybe we'll get to work together. And last but not least is, if you're listening particularly through the podcast, I'd love to invite you to share a review. Super simple. You click on our podcast name, scroll down, you can leave a rating, but even better is just leaving a few words of a review, what this podcast means to you. And if you do that by March 31st, you'll be entered to win a laser coaching session for 30 minutes. So go forth. May God's strength and peace fill you.